Hello, our names are Nathan, Nate, Avi, and Dallas. Today, we will inform you all of the crucial topic of gerrymandering, which has been controversial for a long time and has been changed throughout our history. Gerrymandering has been controversial for a long time, as nowhere in the Constitution was it ever said this was legal. On the other hand, gerrymandering has been accused of violating the First and 14th Amendments, as partisan gerrymandering discriminates against voters with disfavored views, and as racial gerrymandering violated the 14th Amendment's clause of equal protection. Currently, gerrymandering is active in all 50 states of the US. However, in many states, gerrymandering is more active and much more obvious. For example, in 2022, Arizona and Kansas gained ground for the Republicans, while Illinois and New Mexico gained ground for the Democrats, and Alabama and Colorado had very few changes. In 1973, the Supreme Court heard the case Gaffney v. Cummings, which was a legal battle in Connecticut about the legality of bipartisan gerrymandering. Eventually, the Supreme Court ruled that bipartisan gerrymandering is constitutionally permissible under the Equal Protection Clause. The most important executive action was President Biden's executive order on promoting access to voting on March 7, 2021. This order was created to prevent discriminatory changes to voting laws and procedures, which directly affect gerrymandering, as racial gerrymandering can make districts favor certain races. Miller v. Johnson was the most important court case. It took place in Georgia, and it laid the question of whether racial gerrymandering was legal before the Supreme Court. The court ruled that some cases of racial gerrymandering were illegal if they solely existed to segregate voters based on race, which violates the Equal Protection Clause. The public is strongly against gerrymandering, with 2/3 of Americans believing that states drawing legislative districts to favor one party is a major problem. The public believes that gerrymandering directly affects our democracy, as it uses tactics to increase the representation of one political party. It makes it so that other groups are not represented enough through the government. In Canada, gerrymandering used to be a big issue. Originally, Canada used reapportionment, which was considered to be highly partisan. However, after Manitoba, a province of Canada, gave an independent party the right to reapportion its districts in 1955, all of Canada took up this policy. Now, Canada is reapportioned by independent parties. In Pakistan, in the province of Balochistan, 544 voters elected the chief minister of 2018. Meanwhile, 80,000 minority voters in the same province are unlikely to even elect one representative. This shows that gerrymandering is very powerful here, as boundaries were manipulated to increase a rural area's voting power and to decrease a minority's voting power. A large public interest group that is against gerrymandering is the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, or the NDRC. It was formed to ensure fair redistricting in the US, and it provides financial and strategic support to Democratic candidates and causes that support fair redistricting. It has spent over $25,000 in 2019 to 2020 in support of Democratic candidates. There are no large public interest groups that actually support gerrymandering, as typically the only people that gerrymandering actually benefits are the politicians. As a result, typically large public interest groups only support anti-gerrymandering efforts, as this puts more control in the hands of the people. North Carolina is known as one of the most highly gerrymandered states in the nation. Although it has been subject to many years of redistricting litigation, and its state's legislative maps have been redrawn many times, it is quite clear that there is a Republican bias, meaning that gerrymandering has strongly benefited the Republicans. California has implemented a redistricting reform that counteracts gerrymandering. California voters passed Proposition 11 in 2008, making it so that a citizen-led redistricting commission was to draw new district lines for the state's congressional and legislative districts. This has led to more competitive elections and overall has made the state more democratic. The Fair Representation Act was proposed by Don Beyer in 2017 and has garnered support from many people. It combines three main components: establishing multi-member districts or congressional elections, instituting ranked choice voting in these elections, and creating new requirements for congressional redistricting. Considering the recent movements against gerrymandering, like the proposed Fair Representation Act, and the many large public interest groups, we believe that this issue will be less dominant in 5 years. One can expect that other states will follow California's example, which has indeed proven to be effective when it comes to competitive elections and more diverse outcomes. Thank you for listening to our presentation about gerrymandering. If you would like to learn more about gerrymandering, we recommend taking a look at our sources listed here to learn more about gerrymandering's effects on the US.